I've been working on this video for a while and I'm really excited to share it with you because I've been going through my 20 years of experience running events and I'm trying to figure out what separated the events I created that remained an event and events that I created that became sort of iconic, had a brand and recognition power that I benefited from. And I came to the conclusion that I went through three distinct phases, but as I was digging into understanding exactly what was happening at each phase, I felt the nuances were really counterintuitive. So I believe if you stick around and watch the whole video, you'll learn something interesting and probably different from how other people are talking about brand building when it comes to events. As we go through these different phases, what you're going to learn is that in phase one, we're going to talk about the different aspects that goes into building a concept, how to distinguish your event in a unique way, and the research process you want to do in order to figure that out. For phase two, here is really the time for you to take the opportunities to figure out where can you put in cultural elements and ritualize different aspects of the work and why it's important, give you some examples that you can take in order to really understand how to implement it for your own events. And then for phase three, the community is the start. And this is really your rewarding phase. This is the point where the tables turns. You're going to really have a lot of enjoyment working with the event and the people around you, while at the same time, each person in the community feels like the event was made just for them. All right, let's get started. Phase one of building an event that turns into a brand starts with having an idea that is so attractive that this idea on its own communicates what's unique about your event and have that be the magnet that attracts people to the event. And for that, you want to make a distinction between category and concept. You want to operate within a clear category. So if I, for example, say, I want a gin festival in my hometown, or I want to organize an AI conference, these are category level statements. And if you're the first one who do an event and there's people have to go far and long before they get a chance to participate in an event like that, then it's fine. You can just actually stay here and be successful with the event. It's not going to really become a brand unless you refine it and introduce something more conceptually to it, but you'll be successful as an event organizer. So the next step you want to do is to drill down and provide a unique concept for your event. And this drilling down step provides you with a niche. It's a creative process. In fact, it was my favorite part of the whole event creation phase, where I could come up with a lot of interesting ideas of how to help our events stand out and be unique. Just to give you some ideas, I want to give you some hypothetical examples that I created here. So let's say I want to create a gin festival. Yeah. Instead of being a gin festival, we're going to create a Gin Genius Festival where we invite professional mixologists and have them meet our exhibitors and different artisan distilleries and different brands at the event and create unique blends and explain why these combinations work. For example, each exhibitor can have a mixologist collaborating with them to use their drinks to create new creations. And it will be a very exciting experience for both professionals and lay audiences to learn about these different drinks, what makes them work, and what creations are presented, perhaps even created on the spot. This idea of communicating a gin festival versus communicating a Gin Genius Festival where the mixologists are bringing something unique to the table, you have niched down a little bit more. And I don't know about you, but I feel quite excited about this idea as a whole. Let's take the AI conference idea, for example. So let's say we create an event that is called Inference to Edge Summit. So the tagline of this event could be the cutting edge technologies that bring AI to edge devices. Yeah, you already get an idea for what it is about. So you learn about the latest lean inference pipelines. You learn about the CPU versus GPU. When do you want to use what? Because it has a big financial impact. And of course, what's the best architecture to use for low latency edge devices? Just for clarity, inference is the moment you have already trained AI using LLM models, and now you want to have real world situations being analyzed by your AI. That process where you use it live is inference. So imagine a drone flying over an area and the pictures taken needs to be analyzed. That's inference AI that is taking care of that part. Or you have an app on your phone that takes a picture of you or your room and it gives you some output back based on what it reads. That's inference. And edge device, an edge device is for example, the phone, the drone, basically devices that can hold the whole knowledge and processing power of the AI thing within it without necessarily needing to communicate with the internet. Yeah, a car could be another example of an edge device. And CPU versus GPU is important because CPUs are relatively inexpensive. GPUs are quite expensive and hard to get to. So any organization who builds these devices and want to put AI on them would find this experience quite important for them to visit. So it becomes the go-to event. And it's actually a pretty large industry. You have this with cars, you have this with refrigerators, you have this with drones and phones and so on. So even though we went from just AI Summit, which can mean anything, LLM models, it can be inference included and so on, so to say, we niched it into inference to edge devices, right? So it's quite a few layers further down, but it's actually still a huge market. So it becomes exciting because it gives you a much more clearer understanding for what you expect. And if you're in this niche, you want to rather go to this event than the regular AI Summit. And what's important about this is that you've now branded a niche that belongs to you. It will take a lot of gut or effort for another conference to try to compete with your niche. They would have to try to find another kind of niche to establish themselves within. So it becomes a competitive advantage, and that's the foundation of your brand building. For ourselves, we had a festival called the Chase Festival, and the main concept behind our festival was that every class, every experience were associated with vintage clips. For me personally, I wanted to help people have at least this one time a year where the focus is not what we are doing today as a community and the dance, but look back at our historic clips and the culture and heritage we come from as a community, and have the whole attention be placed on these videos and culture that led the path to where we are today. I'm going to put links to these two videos that shows you a glimpse of the festival to get you an idea of what that was all about. So the important things to think about in this phase is that you still want to stay within a clear category. A clear category saves you a lot of money in explanation of who should come to this event fundamentally. It's if you also innovate on the category, you have to pay a lot of money in order to educate people on what this even means and who this is for. So you want to be clear on that. We were a swing dance festival. There's an AI summit or within the AI industry, and there's a gin festival sort of category. So those are always very clear. But it is the concept that acts as a magnet that attracts people, because this is the thing that you can use to create enough curiosity for people to move while you don't have any reputation and there's no word of mouth happening. So this is the starting point of the whole thing. The idea needs to be so powerful, it gets people to your event. And all your decisions orientate around enhancing the concept, where the venue are, who you're bringing. In fact, even if the people you were thinking about, if they're hard to work with, if they are the best to enhance the concept, you're gonna bite that bullet and work with them just to really make that concept stand out and be the unique element. Now, if you have more resources, there are things you can do to speed up phase one, but this is very counterintuitive. If you throw more money at the event in order, for example, to have more marketing for more people to come to the event, that excessive marketing masks the ability for you to get feedback about the concept, whether it is the concept that attracts people or your excessive spending that attracts people. And this is your validation phase. And if you remove the opportunity to validate your concept, you're actually gonna lose out on a lot of important insight. So, and with a lot of people, what happens also is that size distracts from phase one and even what we're going to talk about phase two priorities, because once the event exceeds a certain number of participants, you're going to be so occupied with logistical challenges that you don't have a lot more capacity left to be creative with the concept, right? It will just drown out everything else. So instead, our recommendation is keep your event small, but tour with the event. Yeah, make it in multiple places, make it multiple times a year. This way you get many more iterations under your belt before you move on to phase two. It allows to learn a lot of lessons faster, which is the most important objective of this phase, where you have an idea and you need to just test it a few times before you aim to exceed, let's say, 300 participants sort of level. Because anything, well, even under 500, logistically, it's quite straightforward and easy. So 20 to 500 people is the size you want to keep it. And if you want to accelerate the learning, just repeat it multiple times. All right, that was phase one. Let's move on to phase two. As part of the process of creating an event that turns into a brand, you have a phase where you go deep into cultural elements that makes your event unique from a feeling perspective. It has all these quirks and rituals that are special and meaningful within the context of your event. And what's important here, what my experience have shown me, is that you want to ritualize everything. You want to systematize those things so you can free up development capacity so you're ready for phase 3 processes. And that's what I'm going to delve into now. Key word here is to capture opportunities. You want to look at your event from different perspectives and see, can this thing be ritualized? Can we come up with a quirky idea here and turn it into something that is meaningful for the participants? For example, how is the registration process of the event happening? Is there any opportunities there? How is the moment people are visiting exhibitors? Is there any opportunities there around the catering, around the performances? What can we create that is concept enhancing, right? And because you're doing a concept enhancing elements, it's actually hard to copy, making it a unique experience for you that becomes your moat or competitive advantage that other event organizers can't just straight up copy. Let me explain the phase 2 activities from the lens of our case study. So if we have the Gin Genius Festival example, we can say that we want to introduce a ritual where every time you want to drink something, you first want to clink your glass with 3 other people. And you can enroll your exhibitors, vendors, and mixologists and bartenders to be a part of this idea and act a little bit superstitious when somebody doesn't do it. So I can imagine the scenario where people start running around the festival and clinking glass with other people and creating wholesome moments where strangers meet and have a moment of interaction with each other. I think that can be really exciting. As another idea, for example, imagine a moment where suddenly red lights goes on and the police announce that we're in a prohibition era. So all the exhibitors and vendors need to take down their drinks. And instead what they do is to present finger foods and pastries. What the police don't know is that these finger foods and pastries are gin infused. And of course, your customers need to know that. But it creates a whole nother way to experience gin and creates a big shift in what the whole experience is like. And if you strategically place it in a time where people are getting peckish anyway, it can have a really magical experience. Actually, if you want to create this event, I would love to be a part of that. I think it's going to be a really exciting experience. The other thing you can, for example, do, and this is a little bit more complex, is you can, for example, have the highest voted mixes of the event be the drink of choice during the big party that you're going to throw in the evening. This allows you a few different things. First of all, it allows you to enroll your exhibitors into an affiliate marketing campaign, saying that anybody who's enrolling into helping us attract participants to the event gets to be part of the ones who get picked to be sold at the event. And the payment at the bar goes to those exhibitors, meaning it's a chance for the top 3 vendors to really make a lot of money at this party. And it motivates the vendors to help you attract customers to your event. In fact, our software can handle this affiliate infrastructure, creating unique landing pages for each of the affiliates and have you track all the schedules that needs to be coordinated in the back end of the solution. I'm happy to show you that later if you are interested. The examples for the Inference to Edge Summit could be, for example, that you create randomly assigned synthetic AI data set and people need to find the other side of this data set, the matched set, as a networking gag. The other thing you can do, for example, is to have a network lounge where people can get free coffee and free snacks. But in order for you to come there, you need to find 3 other companies and go there together. So you are at least a group of 3 people who are having a conversation around the free coffee and snack. So you're promoting more of that networking to happen. One thing you can do is to have an Inference pipeline hot seat session where organizations are presenting their pipeline for how they're getting Inference to Edge solution. And you have the experts grilling them in front of the audience as part of a educational process, right? Friendly grilling. For Chase Festival, we did a bunch of different ideas. So one of the most iconic moment is that we repurposed a jazz tune where we rewrote lyrics for it and asked our musicians to play this song with our lyrics. And inside of that was a chant that everybody said called "At the Chase." So we were singing something, they were replying "At the chant, at the chase." And this chant was very sticky throughout the whole event and even later on Facebook. Even to this day, people are chanting this whenever they see me or whenever there's a conversation on Facebook around the event. Another thing we did was 2 a.m. free snack. We commissioned the caterer to bring out really nice finger food at 2 a.m. because we wanted to promote people to stay longer in the party and party until the early mornings, because that created really strong memories for people. And this idea to have TVs in class was actually quite unique in our industry. We commissioned the teachers to have a special performance that we all did together. It created a really exciting experience for the participants. Of course, we put the iconic chase moves into it, so which is where the name of the Chase Festival comes from, not the bank. And also continuing this idea in our unique competition format that created very powerful memorabilia for the participants, and also for our social media material. And another experiment we did was to put out musical instruments in the common areas of the festival where people can spontaneously just sit down and jam away from. And it created this sort of bonfire moment for a group of people where people start playing, other people start dancing. And it was really a lovely, wholesome moment for people. As part of your phase 2 activities, there are a few things I want you to take away. First of all, you want to run many different experiments around different ways to create concept relevant quirky experiences. And you want to see that if it's even 10-20% of participants play along with these ideas and enjoy them, you can consider it as a keeper, because the goal shouldn't be to get everybody involved. And in fact, some people are even put off by rituals and quirky ideas, and it's fine. You don't need to cater to everybody. There are other events for them to go to. But also, most people, even if they don't like it, they still like the concept and they want to stay for the sake of the concept. It's still a very important aspect of the whole experience. But what you need to do is to ritualize these in order for you to still free up new development capacity, because all the time you're adding new ideas and concepts. So these are going to introduce operational complexity that you need to deal with. And I'm going to talk much more about operational complexity later in the video. But by creating your system manuals around them, by knowing the true costs around it and educating your staff and service providers around those rituals and concepts, you can, and rerun the same playbooks every year, you can free up new development capacity to tackle the other important challenges that will set you up for your phase 3. And that is to get your event past the 1,000 people mark, where there's new logistical challenges, new regulations that you need to be aware of, and build those muscles that are needed to get you ready for the phase 3 activities. The way you can speed up phase 2 is to introduce a concept that is called an enriched environment. In fact, this is something I'm borrowing from the Alzheimer's research area, where I used to be an Alzheimer's researcher many years ago. And there I read a publication around an experiment that was done on rodents, where they put them in enriched environments, meaning a playground where they had ample food, toys, friends, all these sort of experiences that the rodents enjoyed. And they noticed how these rodents rapidly grew new neurons. And the idea behind this was that humans need these kind of experiences in order to fight dementia, in order to fight depression, and just recharge and have the power to deal with complex challenges. And although the researchers came to the conclusion that it's really hard to create these enriched environments for humans because everything just have to be that much more, this became a hold my beer moment where this idea captured me so much that I just dedicated the rest of my professional career to it. So for the past 15 years, I've been full-time creating these enriched environments for people through the swing dance experiences, because my experience told me that there was something about these experiences that went against the researchers' assumption that it's not possible for humans. So I felt like I do more good to more people by finding ways to create these experiences. And now I'm continuing that journey as a startup founder, building the tools that makes it easier for other organizers to create those enriched environments. I will drop a few ideas around that further down as well. The goal is that you find more ways of creating an escape from reality for your participants. And I believe this to be as true for consumer-centric events as well as B2B events. The moment they walk into the space of your event, they should feel like this is a whole nother planet. I've been taken away somewhere else. I don't have access to my regular stuff. So it just gives them an excuse to be present, be open, be curious, and it makes all the difference. So when people go back from one of these enriched environments, they are fully recharged, they are inspired, they are ready to tackle their regular challenges that they have at home. And the way you use resources to enhance this experience is, for example, you commission talents to create more concept relevant visuals, experiences, pay more for your venue. So For us, for example, we paid a lot for our light system. We paid a lot for the performances, the catering, the decoration. So there was all these different ways we enhanced the experience. When they walked through the door, they felt like they're in a whole nother place. That takes us to your golden era, phase 3. As you continue growing your event towards building a recognizable brand, you're entering this phase where the community is the star. Because now at this point, your event is getting so big that you want to pay a lot of attention to what your community needs are. And this is where segmentation comes in. Segmentation is this powerful tool that allows you to create tailored sub experiences for people while at the same time making the business more money. And the thing that makes this era so beautiful is that the tables are turned. Some weeks ago, I published a video about protecting your timeline from unresponsive people. One of the really difficult aspects of running an event is the amount of coordination that you need to do with different people. And there's always a few people that are really hard to coordinate with because they're very unresponsive. They don't answer your emails. They don't answer all the questions that you need to have in order to execute on your plans. And this can drive even the best people up the wall. But now at this phase of your event, because it's no longer you who's sort of doing outbound, reaching out to people to get them to work with you. People are knocking down your door to come and work with you because it's such a recognized event that they want to be at. So you can kindly and gently move people that are energy suckers out of the organization, right? This frees up an immense amount of capacity for you and your team in order to free up new development capacity. That's that word again, where you are able to channel into creating a more tailored experiences for your community. Now, I've been building communities for the past 20 years within the Swing Dance community, both in different cities, but also online, offline, around festivals, around local classes. So I've experienced a lot of different aspects of community building. And one of the things that I never hear people really talk about, and it's almost like it's a taboo, because when we think of a community, we think of the same a lot, where everybody should have the same experience, everybody should want the same thing. And actually, that's not how humans work. We want to have shared values, we want to have shared purposes, and frankly, we want to be in the same category. These things are important aspects of the community, but exact experiences needs to be tailored. It's a limit like this married couple who have a lot of things that are the same, but at the same time want to have their own experiences, both out of interest that are not overlapping, but also when they come back together, they have more exciting things to talk about. And the thing that distinguishes a healthy community that is segmented versus a toxic community because of the segmentation lies a lot in how you create those sub experiences for people and how transparent you are about it and how it creates identities around those different experiences. Is it based on better than experiences? Is it impossible for a group of people to be part of that? Or is it transparent? Is mobility free between those different experiences? Can I freely choose to be part of one experience or another experience? And this can also be from interest-based. This can be from financial thing, my willingness to pay. It all depends on the kind of where I am with my life right now, and do I want to participate in this way or the other way, right? You want to create more experiences. That's going to put you on the healthy side. And the more you play the exclusivity card, the more you actually get into a toxic relationship with your community. But done right, it does wonders, both for your guests' experience and for your bottom line as a business owner. And I can't think of anything else that is so beneficial for both of these worlds at the same time. A lot of our software is actually built from the ability for you to create more segmented experiences. And I will tell you more about it later. One way you can decide how to segment your audience is to let your inventory lead the way. Now, what do I mean with inventory, especially within the context of an event? The capacity you have at the venue, the physical room capacity or the area capacity you have, that sets inventory. And then together with that is obviously the talents you bring together, the different stakeholders you bring together, the network of different people you bring together. All of this forms inventory. The important aspect to understand is event inventory is perishable by nature. The day the event is over, all that inventory is lost. So there is a lot of value in trying to capitalize and convert that energy into maximum value, both for your participants, for your stakeholders, for your staff and volunteers, but also for you as a business owner. The beautiful thing around the event industry is this situation where most of our costs are relatively fixed and most of the revenue are relatively flexible depending on how much inventory you free up. And if you manage to create sub experiences and new experiences that is based on existing inventory, all of the new money goes straight to your bottom line, right? It's a very powerful way to double your profits because revenue is exceeding a lot without having any additional costs associated for it. So one way of challenging yourself is, how can I create experiences that sells more inventory before I create new one? Now, if you want to get deeper into understanding what I mean with inventory, I actually have a whole playlist about theory of constraints applied to events. And that's where the whole idea of inventory comes from. It's what I picked up from reading Eliyahu Goldratt's book, for example, The Goal and all the other ones. I'll link it in the comment section so you can find it. Now, so as part of your segmentation strategy, you want to think of it as a strategic creative discovery process. What do I mean with all of this? As part of strategic, you want to try to figure out how can you free up new inventory. And for example, a very easy way of thinking about inventory in this sense is that if your event has a certain time frame, then maybe you open up new time slots around the event. That is new capacity released without having to pay for the venue again, because you probably are paying for it for the whole day anyway. I'm going to go deeper into that later. The creative process is that the segmentation, the tailored experiences you're creating, is it enhancing the whole experience for everybody, or does it actually take away from the whole experience? Also, when I go into that last section of this video, I'm going to give you concrete examples of what this means. Discovery. This is a la Jim Collins, Bullets Then Cannonballs style. Jim Collins wrote this famous book, Good to Great, where he talks about making small experiments before you invest a lot of your organization's resources to make it a permanent fixture of the event at the broader scale. Because you also might not realize what are all the things that are contributing to the whole experience and community, and what are things that are subtracting from it. So many of the ideas sounds great from the perspective of money making, but they actually break a lot of the magic of the event. That in turn will feed negative experience to the event and take away money. So understanding exactly how you create tailored experiences in a way that enhance the whole project is complex and need a lot of iterations before you get it right. To do that right, we need to really be masters of our operational elements of our events, and that's what we're going to get into now. So the thing that determines how successful you will be in phase 3 is your operational excellence. This is the rate determining factor, the ability for you and your team to continue developing and experimenting and coming up with new things while you have increasingly larger and larger events with more complexities, dealing with logistics, dealing with ceremonies and creative experiences. So I want to share with you some ideas of how you can play with segmentations from the lens of the examples we've set up. So we have the Gingenius Festival, for example. Let's say I want to encourage vendors to bring their team or bring all their employees to this event. So it's not just a small team of people who are coming, but they bring as many of their employees as possible because it's such a valuable experience for their whole company. What I might do is to create some form of a staff workshop. And I'll take the opportunity that I have, for example, already professional mixologists there. I have the venue. I have different people are already putting a lot of traveling to come there and so on. So I'm gonna capitalize on this experience and create a special experience for these people. Now, if I, for example, would make a mock Friday schedule, this is actually within our software where I've created all these different experiences. So we have two venues. We have the side room and we have the main space. And we start with opening the room. We get to enter the venue to set up for the weekend. And while the main things are happening in the main room, the first thing that is going to happen is that the side room is going to be prepared because we are going to have people having their first workshop session already while the main room is being built. So I'm going to capitalize on the resource that has been, or the inventory that has been created at this moment. And then I need to have a schedule for the mixologist to come a little bit earlier to be ready for this session. And I have the different vendors having their workshop before they need to set up for the weekend. And then I'm going to end the whole thing with vendors and mixologists to meet with each other in order to already prepare ideas for the mixes and concepts they're going to present on the following days. Now, this is a complex master schedule, right? We're working on different ways of visualizing it, but one of the things you can do is already create subset schedules for each stakeholder. So your staff can get their own schedule. They can filter between the different options that are available. Mixologists get their schedule and they can see what is the regular participant schedule, those who are doing the workshop, what is the workshop schedule, and what is the general check-in process for the mixologist. Then the same thing for vendors who are also doing the Friday workshop. They can see this is the first time I need to be there and this is the main experience. And then you have the vendors who are just doing the weekend experience, like the standard program, so to say. Just by allowing you to have all these schedules segmented, but they're all connected to the same master schedule. So if anything changes, it changes everywhere. You have a much easier time to free up your capacity with other operational challenges rather than coordinating people's spreadsheets, for example. The other thing we have started to develop is the ability for you to create workflows or playbooks where you can, for example, set up a concept where you can explain for stakeholders what is a parent activity and what is a child activity. You can't do this before you have done that. So that allows us to give you other types of visualizations that we're working on that allows everybody to have a much quicker overview of what's going to happen and what's the consequences if something is delayed. And later what's going to be introduced as well is different ways of doing buffer management. So if one activity needs to eat buffer from another activity and stuff like that, how can we quickly manage that within the system? So this is the main thing behind the software that allows you to create these complex experiences that allows you to maximize on your inventory that you have created for the event. For the Inference to Edge Summit example, we can utilize the excess capacity as currency for our marketing strategy, meaning you're not going to sell a bunch of your exhibitors' capacity. Why not give them as part of affiliate commissions to partners? Let's say, for example, you reach out to several exhibition strategists who help exhibitors with creating good booths. And there you give them an offer of like, make a package deal with your services at our event for this kind of price. And included in that price or in that offer is that they get a big chunk of the revenue that would come in, simply because for you, it will be lost anyway. So you give half of it away and it becomes a 50-50 deal. And this is something where being able to track who's bringing these customers is something that we put into our infrastructure, where you can set up your affiliates and link those affiliates to different booking pages and give each partner their own booking pages. For Chase Festival, we did a bunch of different things that helped us double our profit because, again, costs are fixed, revenue flexible. So a revenue increase of 40% doubles your profit, right? It's not one-to-one. We played with time-based segmentations. We played with interest-based segmentations. We played with the type of participant-based segmentation, meaning would really have a synergetic effect in terms of value created at the event for everybody, right? And for example, when it comes to our venue cost, that was by far our biggest cost point. It allowed us to use the venue from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. the next day, 2 days in a row, by just creating experiences that goes with every 5 minutes intervals from morning to next morning. And this way we could create many more experiences. Our venue suddenly had much more capacity without us actually having to get other venues. So it kept the operational complexity actually somewhat low compared to having to have more venues or bigger venues, but freed up inventory that we could sell. And it is these kind of experiences from the phase 1 to 3 that has set the foundation of the software. And the red thread across all of this, as I mentioned before, is operational excellence. You're in phase 3, your ability to create tailored experiences for subgroups of your community and still have the capacity to invent, test, run different playbooks, systematize the playbooks you want, and so on. Or in phase 2, to be able to do that with a cultural and experiential experiences that are unique to your event. And in phase 1, to be able to create concept enhancing experiences, and at every stage, develop, test, systematize, free up new capacity to continue going from one phase to the other one. If this sounds like something you could be benefiting from, have a look at mergelabs.io and see what we're building there. I mean, we're developing really fast and new things are coming all the time. I would love to talk to you, or if you think somebody else could benefit from watching this video or knowing about our startup, please help us get the word out. I would appreciate that very much. And otherwise, until the next one, I hope to see you again. Thank you.